So to me, legacy is important because I want to show my children and the children that come from my children that the limits that we have in life are all mental. It's all in our minds. It's all conditioned. And once we release the conditioning, we are capable of literally anything. And I think understanding how to live a life outside of what I call the matrix is definitely important, because at that point you can truly do what your soul has been brought in this incarnation to do. And that's what I want for those who come after me.
Today on Be The Model, we introduce creative artist and entrepreneur, spiritual healer and psychic reader, songwriter, content creator, the high priestess, yoga instructor, the one and only Aset. Today on Be The Model, we're here with a very special guest, creative artist, psychic reader, and spiritual healer, Miss Ashley Aset. Ashley, thanks for joining us this morning.
Absolutely.
You're coming all the way from Virginia.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, now how's Miami been treating you?
So far, so good. It takes some getting used to. I haven't been in the South in a while, but
Yeah.
I like it. It's hot as hell, but
Yeah,
we'll do.
Yeah. So, go on and start off and tell us about who you are, how you got into it, and what is it exactly that you do.
Okay, so who I am, I'm Ashley Aset. How I got into it as in this lifestyle that I live currently, I would say it took a lot of healing, it took a lot of self-evaluation, but it really took a lot of mindset training for me to realize that I could live the lifestyle that I truly dreamed of if I just shifted my thoughts around my current reality. So what it is that I do, I am a digital nomad. I literally create for a living, whether it's an experience or actually art. I do sensual yoga, teaching women how to tap into their sensuality, but I also create content around sensuality, and I'm a songwriter. So
Nice.
I help independent artists tap into more of their, I would say, creative lyrics, something a little bit more abstract, helping them with their writing, tapping into certain emotions and whatever the vision that they have for their song.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
And what inspired you to do all this? Was there anything particular that inspired you to get into the psychic reading, the music? Give us a little background on that.
Okay, so for the psychic reading, I didn't choose it, it chose me.
Okay.
And I always had experiences with the paranormal as a child, whether it be I stepped into a household and I could tell that the spirits and the energy that once were there, I can feel them and experience them.
Okay.
Or if it's actually communicating with the deceased and those who have transferred over. So that's always been something that I've been in tune with as a child, but I never was taught and trained to own it, embody it, and see it as a gift. I always thought it was really scary. So when I finally had a specific experience with an ancestor of mine, a specific deceased one who had passed away,
All right.
I decided to step into it, accept it as a calling, and embody it. And that's when I actually started picking up tarot cards.
Okay, it sounds spooky. I mean, is it? How does one be relaxed or reach out to you? Do people like contact you to feel this energy, or I mean, was it a scary moment for you dealing with the experience that you had?
It was very scary. It's always been scary, but this specific encounter, it was almost as if it was like, this is the time where you can say, yes, you know, what I'm able to see, feel, and hear is not normal, but it's a gift. So I started to do research with it. When I was hearing things, seeing things, I started to look more into it. And that's when I realized that there was an actual community out there, people who were also experiencing, seeing, and feeling the same things.
Okay.
So that's when I really wanted to dive deeper into it. I started diving into tarot reading. I started diving into meditation, yoga, things like that. And that's when my gifts took off. And at that point, I was doing readings, energy readings for people without even cards, just right in front of them, being able to kind of feel their energy and know what they were feeling and experiencing in that moment.
Great. So, how exactly would an energy reading work? You know.
Okay. How I do them is you come to me, you say, hey, Ashley, I want an energy reading. At that point, I ask you, what do you want clarity on?
Okay.
So you can either say love, you can say career, whatever it is that you feel like you're kind of stuck in.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point, I just tap into the energy surrounding you, whether it's your specific energy being thoughts and emotions.
Okay.
Those are thoughts and emotions of those around you. And then from there, I give you specific advice, but nothing I say is something you don't already know. I'm just confirming what you lack confidence in understanding about yourself.
Nice. And how would the zodiac signs come into play? Like, a lot of people hear about zodiac signs, don't really know. They just might say, hey, I'm Aquarius, I'm this, but not know what comes behind it. Can you give us a more thorough explanation of how the zodiac signs interact with psychic energy and energy readings?
How I use them, I feel like the zodiac is an energy that you embody at birth. It's what you come into this earth. So astrologically, there was a time, a date in which the stars were aligned when you were born, but that also comes with energetic influences, similar to how it does in the world. So what I tell people is that based off of your zodiac, there are certain things that you will do and how you respond to things that come naturally to you. But I do want to make a disclaimer that there's top 3. It's your sun, your moon, and your rising that impact your ability to function in this world and how you respond and interact with people. But then there's an entire chart that you want to study too to understand yourself a little bit better.
So you said your sun,
your moon, and your rising.
And your rising. What does that mean? The
so
beginning?
Your sun sign is like what you present to the world. What I get off from first impressions, right?
Okay.
So typically when I meet people, I'm like, if I feel something, I'm like, what's your zodiac? Because in my mind, I'm thinking I already know it, but I want to confirm it.
Okay.
And then your moon is how your emotions are. So how do you emotionally respond to things? And then your rising is you in a social setting.
Okay.
So it's like your personality, kind of.
And I've noticed, I've seen on your YouTube, your Instagram, that you're into a lot of yoga and meditation.
Correct.
So give us some more insight on yoga and meditation and how you actually use that, maybe for healing or use that for anything involved in the psychic world. Okay,
so for me, I transitioned into yoga fairly shortly after I started doing readings because I knew that I was capable of taking on a lot of energy that was not mine. And what yoga did is allow me to release that energy that I was holding on to that was not serving me. So what ends up happening is when you do yoga, you have chakras. So you have different energetic points in your body that can house specific types of energy based off of certain circumstances and how you process your emotions. So what yoga does is it helps you release those. Now, the type of yoga that I personally advocate for is sensual yoga, specifically for the ladies, but men can also do it too. But it's for that sacral chakra area, which is that womb area, lower pelvic area. And that yoga specifies hip opening, hip rolling, and releasing your creative energy because as women, we are creatives, we create life. Life flows through us.
Okay,
so
I like that.
When you're kind of stuck in, because whether we realize it or not, our hips house emotional trauma, any type of experience, whether you've been sexually molested, whether you've been through emotional experiences that kind of created more of a trauma bond within your life, this type of yoga is set to release that.
Okay. And the higher self, give us a little bit more insight of what that means. I've heard you, seen you on your YouTube podcast talking about the higher self and what it means. Can you give us details about that?
Yeah, higher self is it can be complicated if you complicate it, but simply it's the self, your soul. It's the self without the conditioning. It's the self without the limitations. It's the self without the belief systems that you embody when you come into this earth. Okay. So as you're born, if you were born into Christianity, that's a belief system you were taught. If you're born into conditioning that, I don't know, let's say lack mindset, poverty mindset, that's conditioning. It was taught by your circumstances. The higher self does not embody any of that. The higher self sees no limits. It sees no bounds. It moves completely on desire and soul instinct.
Okay.
Yeah.
And where can the viewers see more of you, contact you, social media, etc.? Give us information on where we can reach you?
Okay. Well, it depends on what you want. So if you're really interested in the concept of sensual yoga, I have a Body by Ashley Instagram page where we do 14-day challenges. So it's a 2-week period where women can really tap into sensual yoga, tap into their more sensual selves, loosen their hips. And it's a 14-day period just to get you started. So if you're into that, you can go there. My Ashley Aset Instagram page talks about everything we're embodying in this interview. That's where you can see kind of all the facets in which I express myself. And then if you're interested in specific content around sexuality, then I would go ahead and head over to my OnlyFans, which is also Ashley Aset.
Okay, well, you do have an OnlyFans.
Yes.
And it's
Ashley Aset. Uh-huh.
Ashley Aset.
Yeah.
And how'd you get that name, Ashley Aset? What made you create that name?
Well, remember we were talking about paranormal experiences?
Yes.
Okay, so that's how I kind of got this name. So I had recently divorced, and I was moved to Richmond, living in my own place. And at that point, that's when I really dived into my healing.
Okay.
Healing as a woman, healing from being married, from going through different experiences. And that is when I really got in tune with the goddess, Aset, who is an Egyptian goddess.
Oh, so it's a goddess called
goddess Aset, right.
Okay, so that's why it's Ashley Aset. Aset
Exactly.
meaning the goddess.
Exactly.
Got you.
Boom. Nail on the head. So that's exactly how I embodied the name. I really embodied that energy. That energy helped me heal a lot of the trauma that I had. That's what introduced me to yoga, meditation. And so embodying that energy is what allowed me to be the woman that I am today. So I took on that name to continue.
Okay, nice. That's a great metaphor with the name and everything like that in conjunction. So we know you're a songwriter. You deal with music. So how is that? Give us a little bit more about that. Are you actually out there creating music? Do we have anything to look forward to?
Yes. So I work with local artists. Right now I'm working with an independent artist called Nay Danielle, who is releasing an EP in July. So we're currently working on her recording for her EP, but we actually collaborated on her entire EP. And I helped her write a lot of the songs in which she's going to release in July. So this is like my first big project, but I've been writing music since I was a child and poetry. So
okay, so what type of music do you listen to? What's on your playlist? Do you have any favorite artists?
Favorite artist? Okay, Janae Aiko. Gotta give her
Janae
shout outs.
okay.
I really love Chica. Chica is like, she's a rapper, but she also she carries a tune very well. She sings, so she also creates harmony within her raps, which I like the diversity. And then if we want to take it to the other side, I definitely enjoy trap music as well.
Okay.
Because of the creativity that goes into it. So we have Young Dolph, who I'm a big fan of, and then I'm also a big fan of Roddy Ricch.
Okay, and going back to your background, do you, like, originally your parents, where they from? Do you have any kids?
Okay. No, I have no kids. And my parents are from the South. So my mother was born and raised in Tennessee.
Okay.
My father was born and raised in South Carolina. So Southern roots, for sure, Southern girl. But I was born in Tennessee, raised in Atlanta. So I was raised in the South up until probably middle school, and then I moved to Northern Virginia.
Nice. And regarding the Black Lives Matter movement, in your life, what have you faced? Have you faced any racial injustice? And what advice would you give to young black men growing up today in today's society on how to be successful?
Okay. Racial injustice is a little different for me because I grew up in a very, like when I say very biracial family, it's a little bit of everything. So for me, I noticed injustice more in the school systems. I noticed injustice more in the workplace. And I noticed injustice more in the when you become an adult and you're now trying to get loans, you're now trying to get credit. I see it in that spectrum way more than I just see it as the color of my skin and kind of in my everyday life. I have not experienced it overtly, but hidden and kind of passively, I've experienced it from working in corporate America, from trying to educate myself and get educated. I ended up going to a HBCU because of what I've experienced in other private schools. And then also from just simply trying to get housing, get loans.
Exactly.
All that.
Because I've heard a lot of people telling me the difficulty they're finding, even when they're having to appraise homes, and them being of color versus them being white, how it's easier for white people, or white people actually get appraised at a higher
Yep.
amount than black people. So
No, absolutely, I agree. And I think that the best thing I could say is for our black men is to educate yourself. Even if,
education.
yes, I say the book I would recommend is The Color of Law, because especially if you're trying to get into real estate, especially if you're trying to get into housing, you understand redlining. Redlining is specifically based off of prejudice, is specifically based off of racism that kind of held us back in the early years.
Okay.
Especially being from Richmond and having lived in Richmond, you see it clearly that that's where it originated when it came to unequal housing for blacks and whites.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. And where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? What's next for Ashley Aset? What would you like to see yourself in the next coming 5 years?
In the next 5 years, I see myself having brand deals with different travel companies. I see myself working with some of my favorite artists in regards to songwriting. And I honestly see myself being kind of an advocate and a voice for spirituality, stepping out the constraints of religion, stepping aside from control and kind of embodying spirituality from a very open and free aspect.
Okay. And if there was one person who inspired you in life, who would that one person be?
Ooh, this is always such a tough question for me to answer because I spent my entire life looking up to people just to be disappointed. So I think right now, who would inspire me the most is me, simply because of what I've been through and the woman that I've become. It's kind of this like unstoppable machine in a sense that I'm like honestly shocked.
So you're driven, basically, real driven.
Very focused, very driven, kind of tunnel vision to where I'm not even looking left or right. I'm kind of just focused on the end goal.
Great. And if you could go back to your younger self, how old are you now?
I am 28.
28. If you could go back 10 years
Ooh.
and give your younger self advice on life, on love, on business, what advice would you give yourself?
I would say take your time.
Okay.
I would say stay focused on what's authentic to you, because it's easy to do what you think people want you to do, what you think people want, but it never comes off as better than what's authentic. And then I will also say know your value.
Nice.
Yeah.
And we see that you're doing a travel blog.
Yeah.
I watched the episode, your first episode actually on YouTube.
Yes.
Tell us more. What do you have in store? And what are you doing with the traveling? Let us know what we can look forward to and what we can see once we log in and subscribe to your YouTube channel.
No, absolutely. This is something I've been wanting to do for years. I mean, when I say years, since I was probably like 18. So finally being able to live the lifestyle that I would actually want to show people, which is kind of limitless. I just want to show people that you can live beyond your limits once you get rid of them.
Okay.
And you can create the life that you dream. But what to look forward to, I will be going to the DR.
Nice.
After I leave the DR, I'm headed back home, but then I'm going straight to LA. And then after LA, we're going to Puerto Rico. So I'm definitely planning to travel for the rest of the year. My goal is 25 states and countries combined.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I'll be vlogging the entire thing. So.
Okay, so guys, make sure you subscribe to the YouTube channel.
Yes.
And check out Ashley Aset's travel blog. She'll be going all around outside of the United States and inside the United States, giving you guys insights on her journey.
Yeah, also showing you how to work and create the life you want. Because I'm not going to be chilling. I'm going to be working too.
Exactly.
But it's also kind of going to be a combined thing there.
All right. And when we talk legacy,
Ooh.
what type of legacy do you want to leave behind for the world to know who Ashley Aset was, and what kind of impact do you want to have?
Okay. So for me, legacy is big because I come from a family and I'm the first to do what I'm doing. Like even at this level, which I feel like I still have so much more to accomplish, I'm already doing first of my generation in my family. So I'm already building a legacy that if I died tomorrow, that the people who come after me would be like, oh, we're capable of doing X, Y, and Z. So to me, legacy is important because I want to show my children and the children that come from my children that the limits that we have in life are all mental. It's all in our minds.
I like that.
It's all conditioned. And once we release the conditioning, we are capable of literally anything. And I think understanding how to live a life outside of what I call the matrix is definitely important, because at that point you can truly do what your soul has been brought in this incarnation to do. And that's what I want for those who come after me.
Okay. And when it comes to the word fear,
Ew.
how do you feel fear affects people? And how would you use fear and overcome fear to become successful?
I feel like fear is an illusion.
Okay.
And fear, it's like you go through stages of eliminating the illusions in which we've created our reality around.
Yes.
And so fear is one of those.
Mm-hmm.
But fear is conditioning to me as well. And you're conditioned to fear a certain thing based off of the people who came before you, whether they were successful at it or not. So if my mom or my dad wasn't successful at coming out of a 9-to-5, they're going to quite naturally and unconsciously teach me that a 9-to-5 is what I need to be successful. But fear comes in when you or no one else around you knows the constraints beyond that limitation. Yeah. So I think for me, fear when it comes to, it's just an illusion. It's just a thought. But once you get past the illusion and the thought, you can actually make the action to show you in real time that it was bullshit.
Exactly. They say fear, false evidence appearing real.
Exactly. And I learned that in church, but even seeing that now, I'm like, oh, wow, fear is...
Yeah, I think it's one of the main things that handicaps people. You know, the fear of failure, the fear of how you look in front of people, social media, friends. Once you can get past that fear and have the courage to push on, I believe that's the goal, that's the roadmap to success.
You know, and it's funny that you say that because I think that a lot of people need to know that in living a lifestyle that is completely based off of your desires, completely based off of what you feel in that moment, completely based off of creating, you're going to get people who are fearful projecting on you. They may make you second guess things, but the best thing is to really know yourself and to really know that the limitations of the person that is projecting upon you. Like, oh, how far did you get in this fear? If you didn't get that far, then I'll hear you, but I'm not gonna take
your own path.
Exactly.
Got you. That's excellent advice.
Yeah.
And final question.
Okay.
What does be the model mean to you?
Ooh, okay. Be the model means to me, I would say it's embodying, just taking on the role. Like if you are a model, be that model and be that model in what's authentic to you. So there are different types of models, there are different types of art, and just owning what you do, what you're good at, what you're passionate about, and making it something that shakes the room. Honestly,
nice. Shakes the room. I love that.
Shake the room.
Okay.
Yeah.
Nice. So that's a great way to put it. Thank you for joining us.
Absolutely.
We have Ashley Aset. Follow her on Instagram, YouTube, OnlyFans, Twitter.
Okay.
Did I miss something?
No, that's...
check out her travel blog. There's a lot more to look forward to. The music, yoga, and psychic readings, energy readings. Contact her if you need that advice. Reach out to her. Don't forget to be outstanding, be great, be unique, and be the model. How was that?